Cinematic universes versus multiverses. What is better? That's what we're going to discuss on today's show. Hey, it's me, AP, and welcome to the Saturday Movie Show, everyone. I hope you're all having a lovely Saturday today, and today's show is an entertaining show. We are going to look at, as I said in the intro, cinematic universes versus multiverses. That is the headline topic for today's show because, for me, it is a big topic. It is a big topic in movies, and I feel like there's much to discuss upon this topic. But before we dive into this explosive big blockbuster topic for today's show, ladies and gents, we're going to do some not so worthy blockbuster housekeeping. That is the part of the show. This is the part of the show where we discuss what's going on with the channel and just a general chit chat to get us in the mood for today's Saturday movie show. A bit of a warm-up session, I think of it as, the not so worthy blockbuster housekeeping. So what is on today's housekeeping session? Today's housekeeping session, let's first off start off with a Patreon message for Patreons out there, or anyone who is interested in coming along to the Patreon community of this channel. This past week, I have put out the first Patreon exclusive bonus video, and it is a beat. I can't remember where I mentioned this now, but it's a behind the scenes look at my new short film, The Monster Hideaway, which will be coming out in September. This is, for me, it's cool that I've putting together the first Patreon video because we've got the YouTube community, then we've got the Patreon community. It's there, as I always say, if you want a bit of extra content from the channel, it's there. You can sign up for $1 and you get all the previous podcasts that have been released, the webcomics, and now the bonus video content. The plan of action is now to do a bonus video every month, as well as the Patreon podcast and webcomics as well. So it's just going to be something extra in there. That is the plan of action at the moment, obviously, to do a video a month. I'm planning out new content as we speak, planning on a couple of days where I'm going to be filming a ton of content just to get maybe like a month or two worth in the bag, because I think it's important, just because, things happen, life happens sometimes, and sometimes, like for instance, this morning, bit of a problematic this morning is the internet just totally went out in my computer. My computer's like 10 years old now. It's sitting beside me here. I'm just looking at it and thinking, you've lasted a long time, buddy, but it's nearly time to go to sleep, to the computer. That's what I'm saying. I've had my computer like 10 years plus now, and it is a workhorse, and it's done tons. I remember when I got it, it was like one of the top end computers. It was really, really good. I think I paid like a bit for it because I needed something for it at the time for like music editing, and it's now, over the years, it's worked out well for video editing, for the YouTube content, for making short films like The Monster Hideaway. But I do feel like it's slowly dying on me. I've had to restore it a couple of times this year already. You know what it's like, computers, technology, once they go, it's like a car, isn't it? I suppose once you find one problem, you find another million problems with cars, and it's same with electronics. And this computer, I try and get my money's worth out of things, and I think 10 years out of a computer is pretty good. But I have been looking for a laptop recently to eventually do live versions of the Saturday movie show. That is a long-term goal, to do it live, less editing. I can just do it straight on a day. A laptop will come in handy because, as I've said previously, the internet in this room here is not great. It's a bit patchy at times, but a lot of dead spots. So if I do it directly into a laptop, I think I'd be able to get better internet. That is the long-term plan, probably either the back end of this year or early next year. Get that. But I feel like at this moment in time, the plan may be brought forward because the computer seems to be just a continuous amount of problems. If I can fix it up again, patch it up a bit, I will wait it out for a bit. But the long-term plan is get a laptop and do the live show. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because I think it would be really fun to do live shows. I always think like live shows must be a buzz, because you're like, I mean, it's like you're not performing live, but I mean, just being able to connect with the community live would be awesome. I think that is what I'm looking forward to do eventually. So it will happen. It will happen. It's just a case of just finding the right moment to do live shows. But they will come along at some point, definitely, ladies and gents. But yeah, we had the Patreon bonus video this week coming out. It is behind the scenes look of the short film. I've been filming loads of bonus content along the way of creating it. It's about a 20-minute video, the first one, but as I said, there will be more to come. More bonus content related to movies, related to the short film. I'm sure I'm going to pick a day where I plan it all out so I know exactly what I'm going to be throwing your way in the community. But if you do want to sign up for Patreon, it is there. And I suppose another thing, I will be recording another bonus podcast over the weekend, and it will be coming out on Monday. The last Monday of every month is when we do the bonus podcast for Patreon as well. So that is going to be on the. Let's talk about though what's going on with the YouTube side of things, because this community is just as important as the Patreon side of things as well. This is the main hub. YouTube side of things, we've had the video come out this past week. It is a round 3 of DVD case covers. I will say I really enjoy doing them videos. I was actually going to batch a few at the time, but I honestly didn't want. I wanted to do it justice, and I was looking through the covers, and I was struggling to find, another like 6 covers worth doing. But I do think, they are so fun to do. I love looking at the covers, the artwork, examining the artwork. I find them videos really fun. And when you go through your DVD collection or whatever physical media you collect, and you look at the artwork on some of these covers, it is brilliant to look at. I find them like pieces of art. I know you're probably saying, "Oh, you're a bit over the top there," but I'm being deadly serious. I feel like some of them are really like works of art. I think, in particular, the Lord of the Rings Return of the King one, which was featured in this past week's round 3 of the DVD case covers. That cover, look at it here. Look at it again. Just how beautiful is that cover? That is a beautiful cover. Like I said, this would be an ace. I don't know if anyone's got this as a poster in the movie room or whatnot, but this is a great cover to look at. I love that. But anyway, that is, like I said, I'll be doing a bonus podcast over the weekend. Few changes as well to the 50th episode of the Saturday Movie Show. I think I said last week on Sean Quarterman's idea in the community, he mentioned like doing a best of top 10 movies. I'll be honest with you, I'm really struggling with picking and committing to 10 movies that are my favourites, because there's that many movies. I'll be honest with you, I don't think I can do a list. It's just so hard. I think if everyone says, it's like naming your favourite bands, or I find it very hard to pick a certain criteria, because you've got comedies. I have my favourite comedies and favourite action movies. I think it's going to be hard to pick. So I have floated this other idea in my brain of doing an episode where we do, if there's any questions related to the channel, we do a bit of a Q&A, a small Q&A maybe, if any questions come up, if anyone has any questions or statements that they'd like to throw at the movie related as well. But what I'm planning to do is a show where we do the best year in movies. Where I think what is an easier option for me, rather than picking my top 10 movies, is picking a year where I pick 4 movies the best year. So say, for example, I picked 1999, and I don't know what came out in 99. Was it like Independence Day or Men in Black? Maybe something like that. I picked 4 movies from that year, and I give the reasons to why I think that year that I want to talk about is the best year in movies. What I'd also think would be cool, though, if people in the community got involved, if you want to get involved, what I'm probably going to do is set up an email address, and it'll be just a one-time email address for the 50th episode, where people can either give the choices via a message or via Twitter or Instagram, or they can send in a short video of like maybe a 30-second to 2-minute video where it would have to be, I think MP4 format would be best off. Don't be sending me a 4K file, ladies and gents. I can't do 4K editing. It's just too, especially talking about my weak computer, which is on its death stores. Just like an MP4 or a video off your phone, a short 30-second to 2-minute video. If you want to get involved, send it in and just, give me your top 4 movies from a particular year. Give me the year and give me your reasons why these are. Just a quick short video. And it'd just be cool, I think, just to do like a big collaboration episode. Whether it pays off, it maybe not. Maybe I'm saying this now and then it's just a solo episode. If it is, it is. But if it would be cool, I think it would be nice to do if we had maybe just a few collaborations. What I will just say, please just keep no swearing in the videos. I like to keep the programming, the videos family friendly, PG friendly in all videos. So if there are any swearing, I probably would have to bleep it out or not use that video. But if you want to get involved, I will set up the email this week. If you want to give me a heads up on Instagram or whatever, or in the comments, let me know. I'll set up the email. Next week, I'll let you know the email, and we can go from there and see what happens. But I think it would be cool just to do a bit of a collaboration with the community and get everyone involved in this 50th episode of the Saturday Movie Show. So that is the plans. That is a not-so-worthy Blockbuster housekeeping over for today's show. Let's deep dive in. That's me deep diving into the headline topic of today's show, ladies and gents. So, cinematic movie, getting so tired here. Cinematic movie universes versus movie multiverses. What is better, and why this topic in particular? I suppose this topic I want to talk about because it feels like it's more a prominent topic, and it's getting more. Every single day we see more movies mentioned in multiverses now, and we're getting hearing. For years it was just we were hearing cinematic universes, but now the new buzzword in movies, in big budget blockbuster movies, especially like your superhero comic book movies, it's multiverses. We've got it now. This past week, we've seen the new Spider-Man trailer for Spider-Man 3, No Way Home. And we got a lot of hints and teasers of this multiverse. We're getting the Doc Ock from the original Spider-Man 2 movie. We got teasers of the Green Goblin. We've had heavily rumours that it's going to feature in the Spider-Man movie Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, all 3 Spider-Men, along with the new current Tom Holland, who is Spider-Man Peter Parker now. So what we're getting is this is going to be like a big Spideyverse, live-action Spideyverse movie, a big multiverse movie. We've also seen it more recently with the Loki TV show, where it's really incorporated that idea of the MCU multiverse, moving forward from what was just originally just a cinematic universe of linking all these characters within the one universe, within the one Earth. Now looking at it, that there's alternate versions of characters and there's alternate universes where the characters are different and there is slight changes in characters or there is dramatic changes within characters. And this is where the topic really has come from today for this show, because just hearing about all these different things, these different topics with the MCU, DC are even doing it. You got Flashpoint, you got the new Flash movie coming out. They're going to do the multiverse there, and you've still got your cinematic universes going on as well. So this is why I wanted to bring up this particular topic today, because I feel like it is a broad topic, and I feel like a lot of discussion will be had with it, and I feel like a lot of people within the community will have a lot of awesome comments and feedback, and just the view on what the multiverse is versus the cinematic universes, what is better and what is good or bad about both. So first of all, I want to talk about what are my favourite cinematic universes, first of all, before we deep dive into the idea of multiverses. I gotta say, look, the MCU, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people. The MCU for me is the best movie cinematic universe I've ever seen. It's really the only one that has really committed to it. And I'm sure there is other ones over the years that have had spin-offs and sort of small ties to different universes. But the MCU is the biggest one I can think of. It's the biggest one that has went all in with a linkage, an extended universe of characters that are all interlinked within the movies, and then they do the big team up movies with the Avengers movies. So for me, that has been, it's over 10 years now as well. Over 10 years of this cinematic universe. That has been the best for me. And standout movies would be like the Iron Man movies, apart from Iron Man 3, because that's garbage. The Avengers movies have been amazing. Even introducing characters that I wasn't too familiar with. Thor, Captain America. None of these characters I was familiar with, like Ant-Man, Doctor Strange. I'll be honest with you, I like comic book movies, but I'm not going to pretend that I'm one of these guys who read comics as a kid and knew about all these characters. I knew nothing about these characters, and still, Shang-Chi, I didn't know anything about that character. I still don't. I've not seen the movie yet. The Eternals. It's just such a big, broad universe of characters, and it's done so well. And I feel like there's only very few movies within the MCU that have been maybe not up to the top level of MCU movies, but the majority have all been good movies, and they've all been interconnected. They've all had teasers for other stories and other movies, and it's been done so well. It's been done so well. The characters have been they've committed to the characters. They made them comic accurate, the characters, and they've all gelled well. And when they've done the big team up movies, none of the characters have felt left out. It feels like all the characters have had enough airtime. They've all had the right amount of quality in storytelling for each character. So MCU, hands down, is my favourite cinematic universe at this point in time anyway. So let's move this topic forward and move on to another point. And the next point I want to talk about is, am I excited by the prospect of these incoming multiverse projects, these multiverse movies? We've got a few, as I said in the before, we got the Flashpoint, the Flash movie, the DC property coming up, which is going to feature Michael Keaton's Batman from the original two Batman movies. With the 1989 and was it 1989 and 92? Was it them two Batman movies? Michael Keaton's character, and he will be with the current Flash of the movies. Was Ezra Miller, and it's been rumored as well that what's his name? I was going to say Ben Stiller then, but it's Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck's Batman will also feature in this. So we don't know what sort of degree either characters will feature, Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. We don't know whose character will be like the main Batman of that movie. Will it be both of them? It's going to be interesting to see, and it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt that Flashpoint comic book, because it is that comic book, I believe, features Bruce Wayne's father, Thomas Wayne, in that story very prominently, if I remember that rightly. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. Look, there's a lot of them. We got the new Spider-Man movie, as I said. We've got Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. So we've got a lot of these incoming multiverse movie projects and TV projects coming up. What am I looking forward to with all those? Am I looking forward to them? I think, look, I am very much looking forward to the Spider-Man movie. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be cool to see all these returning characters. One of my favourite characters within the Spider-Man. I was never all in on the Spider-Man movies, but one of the first Spider-Man movie for me was perfect, and it was perfect because it had a great villain, and that was the Green Goblin. And William Dafoe, he is rumoured to be returning to Spider-Man No Way Home. If he does return, I think that'll be great. I just think the prospect of seeing all them Spider-Man on screen together and their interactions will be really interesting to see as well. And I'm glad they've sort of held it back from any trailers so far, anyway. Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. It sounds like it's going to be great. You know, we got Scarlet Witch in there. We got Loki's going to be in there. I mean, what is it going to be about? It's very, you know, at the moment we don't really know. It's very much under wraps. But I like the first Doctor Strange movie, and just that title alone, the Multiverse of Madness. I know it's Sam Raimi, the original director of the original Spider-Man movies trilogy. He is the director on this second one. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a great movie. I don't know what to expect, but I think that's, you know, sometimes going into them movies with just a really cool title and not knowing that much about it makes it very intriguing to me. And that is an intriguing movie. So I'm very much excited for that. And I'm excited to just see where they go with this multiverse idea in these movies. I suppose the Flashpoint one will be one in particular to see. You know, you've got Ben Affleck's Batman and Michael Keaton's Batman, and you've got a multiverse here. You're going into, look, we're saying a multiverse. We're saying basically different movie properties here. We got the original Tim Burton Batman movies, and then we got these new DC EU extended universe movies, and now we're back. We're going back in time. We're taking a DeLorean and going back in time to see Michael Keaton's Batman. I think the prospect of that and the idea of going into old properties, old film, cinematic, TV properties is super cool. I just think it's a super cool idea. I love that now we could have potentially Michael Keaton's Batman as the main Batman in the DCEU. How cool is that? I think it's a cool prospect. I mean, I like Ben Affleck. I still stand to this day, Ben Affleck is probably the best Batman for me because I think he's a great Batman. But I know he's rumored to wanting to leave, and we don't know whether he will stay. If Michael Keaton is then the new Batman in the DCEU, I'd be happy for that. I'd be down for that, and that's what I like about this multiverse idea, that they can go into older properties or, you know, mix properties up, and there's, you know, the excuse and the reasoning behind it is it's the multiverse, or there's a crack in the multiverse, or the Flash is running through time, he goes into a different time or a different multiverse. I love the idea of it. I think it's a great idea, a great proposition, and it really excites me that we're going to see something new. And it's new stomping ground. It's new ground for like cinematic, for comic book movies, for any type of movies, deep diving into these multiverses. It's an exciting prospect because we don't really know what we're going to see, and the storytelling potential. There is so much different storytelling potential from all these different universes, from the MCU to the DC to whatever other universes, film universes there are out there that potentially goes this route of a multiverse idea. So I've talked about the prospect of the multiverse, and talked about my favorite cinematic universes. But let's go back onto the multiverses again. I'm going to play devil's advocate. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh, boo." What are the drawbacks to a multiverse in a cinematic format? So let's take these MCUs and the DCs, for example. What are the drawbacks of the multiverse? Are there any? I think for me, looking at it, the drawbacks are going to be, we're having these big multiverse movies, like the Spider-Man movie. We're having tons of different Spider-Men in there, tons of different villains in there. What happens in Spider-Man 4? Do we have another multiverse movie? If they've done the big multiverse movie already, if they do it again, it won't be as special, will it? So do we go back to a normal cinematic universe? Does the door close? Do we just do one and done big multiverse movie? Or do we do multiple sequels to this multiverse idea? Do we have Spider-Man 4? It's Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, Tom Holland again, and we see, another big multiverse movie. But how far can that go before, it gets dull, it gets stale? I think it's inevitable that there's going to be a point where the idea of a multiverse is going to have to get capped off. It's going to have to, have a finish line, and we're going to have to just see one sole cinematic universe. I'm sure of it. I'm positive at some point. Maybe this is years in the future. Maybe we have 10 years of the Marvel, of the DC multiverses. But say at the end of this point, I think there's going to be a point where they're going to say, let's go back to now single universes of a more singular type of cinematic storytelling. So I think the drawbacks are inevitably with everything. It's going to come. It's going to, the special factor, the wow factor of it is going to go. And sure, there's going to be tons of these movies they can do. They can do, a multiverse, tons of MCU multiverse movies. But I feel like the first few are going to be super special because it's a fresh idea and it's a fresh concept. But I do feel like later down the line, it will become less special, and you'll be at the point where, okay, we've seen this in this movie, we've seen it in this movie, because they talk about comic book movie fatigue. I think it is real. I don't get me wrong. It does, like, certain movies I watch. Maybe not with the superhero, but I suppose with certain like genres of movies, like sci-fi movies, I get fatigue on certain movies because I feel like there's tons of different movies. But I feel like some point, maybe I've not felt it, but maybe some of you have felt it over the comic book movie side of things, where you've got fatigue over them, and you're like, it's just another one out, and it just feels like it's a movie after a movie after a movie, and you're getting too much of fatigue. Will we get a multiverse fatigue? I think, again, I think it's a point where we will at some point in the future, and I think that is the one potential drawback is, losing that specialness of it over the first few movies, and it becoming stale, and it becoming every single movie is a multiverse movie. I think that would be, if they want it to last longer, they've got to do it, multiverse movie here, few normal ones, normal cinematic. Multiverse movie here, few. Break them up. Don't do every single one all in on the multiverse. But I do feel like Marvel will go all in on the multiverse idea. But I suppose that's the choice. If they've got a good, I can't with the MCU side of things. I the way I see it, they've not let me down so far. I'm there to stand there give them my money and say, I'm willing to watch this because I've loved so far what the MCU has done, and I have full faith in them that they will do it well for me. And I just gotta keep your fingers crossed as a movie fan and just enjoy every movie as they come along. That's the way I see it. But do I think we will ever go back to the normal cinematic universes? And I suppose that relates to my previous question of the drawbacks. And I feel like it's inevitable that we will go back to them eventually. I think the DC side of things could potentially be doing it better at this point, though. What they are doing is they've got this big Flashpoint movie with the 2 Batman in, but then they've got the new solo one with Robert Pattinson coming out. So it feels like DC now are kind of doing standalone movies. We've seen it with the new Suicide Squad, where it doesn't link as much to the other DC movies, and it feels like the new Batman movie is probably going to be that way inclined as well. It's going to be its own thing, part of its own universe of storytelling. So they're kind of doing a bit of both, really, and I think that is where, we will go back to the normal cinematic universes, but I think that is the way it could potentially work out as well. But I like the idea of both. I do like the idea of both, and I do think at some point, the multiverse ideas will run out, and I think they will want to go back to a singular universe, and I think it's just a case of when. I think we are going to be seeing years of storytelling over TV and movies before we get back to a standard one singular cinematic universe. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch, isn't it? Really interesting. But let's talk about what is my favorite multiverse so far. And you're like, well, there's not been that much of it. Maybe the MCU, the DC's done it, maybe a teaser of it. I gotta say, the best multiverse for me is the Fringe multiverse, the Fringe TV show. Fringe was a sci-fi show I've mentioned on the channel a few times. It was a great show. A couple of years ago now it ended, but it was a great, very much like an X-Files type show. I think it was by the creators of Lost as well. I think J.J. Abrams had a hand in that, and Alex Kurtzman was it, I believe. Great show, great sci-fi show into science fiction. But they had this storyline where they had a multiverse where the main character went over to another universe, and it was a great story, and there was a lot of other linkages to multiverses within the story, but I wouldn't want to say without like spoiling the story. But it is fantastic. It's a fantastic show, and if you watch that show, and if you watched it, I'm sure you'll understand when I say they nailed it as far as multiverses go. They really did a good job in telling a great multiverse story on the TV show Fringe. That is my favourite multiverse so far, but I imagine over time, I imagine it's going to be either the MCU or the DC Extended Universe. One of those is going to be my favourite multiverse. But final verdict on this topic, cinematic universes versus multiverses. What is best? I think as a fan of movies, we've got to just enjoy both. I'm happy to see both. I can't wait to see what the both side of things do with multiverse stories, with normal cinematic stories. If DC just does a bit of both, that is fine. If the Marvel ends up doing the all in on the multiverse, then goes back to a standard cinematic universe, I don't mind. As long as we get great films, and as movie fans, we get good movies out of these, good stories. I think it's just exciting, the idea that we've got all these new movies coming out with this new prospect of this multiverse. I just find it fascinating. I think it's going to be cool to see, what other characters from other movies are we going to see? Is this the way they're going to bring in the X-Men from the X-Men movies? Who knows? It's so much mystery around it still. I feel like we know stuff, but we don't know as much as we all think we know at this point. And that's what's exciting as a movie fan. And I am very much excited by the prospect of both the cinematic and the multiverse. So for me, the only winner of the cinematic versus multiverse debate is the fans of movies. Me, you out there, we're the winners of this. There's no outright winner apart from us, the movie fans. So it's that part of the show now where I give some movie recommendations for the weekend in the segment Movies for the Weekend. And two movies I want to discuss, which were in the video this past week I did on DVD case covers, are, first of all, Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction, a great movie. Great cover art, by the way, as well. The non-linear type of storytelling in this, typical Tarantino, but I love this movie. I think it's a great movie. I remember saying, I said, I didn't watch it as a kid. I wasn't allowed to watch this one. But I always had memories of seeing this poster in like DVD, in VHS video shops over in the UK. And I think I remember seeing it in the VHS collection I had as a kid. But a great movie, Pulp Fiction. There's such a great cast in this. The storytelling is really cool. I think this is an all-time classic movie. So well worth checking out this weekend if you've got it on physical media. If not, get it downloaded. Download it or stream it. However you get your movies, you know what I'm saying. Get the movie. Get Pulp Fiction if you've never watched it. Another one, though, for the weekend from that video is got to be this one. Return of the King. And I said in that video, it's not my favourite Lord of the Rings movie, and I do stand by that, but it's not to say that it's a bad movie. As the finale of the trilogy, it's still a good movie. I just prefer I prefer Two Towers is my favourite one. It's just for the battle. The battle in that is epic, and that is why, I like the first one as well, but the second one is for me the best movie. It's just the standout as a battle movie, but this one is it's again, the Lord of the Rings movies are, fantastic movie. The Star Wars of the 90s and the early 2000s. That is for a lot of generations, mine included. Lord of the Rings was huge, and I remember watching it as a kid, and I really enjoyed the movie. So Return of the King is definitely up there as a movie well worth watching. So what have I been watching this past week? And I suppose the two major things that I've watched is, well, first of all, I've mentioned this a ton of times before. I'm fairly positive, but the 1990s Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I watched that yesterday, and every time I remember watching it more recently, and I hadn't watched it in years, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, how have I not been watching this for years upon years? Because it's such a cool movie. Um, but yeah, the Ninja Turtles movie from the 90s was great. You know, it was at a point in time where Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, was just the biggest thing in the world. As with Power Rangers, you know, it was huge. And that movie, the suits are awesome. I love the story. It's just an epic telling. The music in it is really good as well. Shredder is you know, he looks scary. He looks really scary in that movie. But I watched that movie, and it's great in it. I loved it. A really great movie to watch, and it's what I'm gonna have to do a proper review of it on one of the bonus podcasts at some point, because I really enjoyed that movie. It's a great watch. But I suppose another thing I watched this past week is, like a lot of you, because I've seen the amount of views online, the new Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. I mentioned it throughout this video, but I watched it, and I think I remember seeing it over there, and it was like 10 million views, and that was over like a day or two. That is crazy. But that trailer really hit it home for the excitement level, because I was hearing rumors that they were not going to do a trailer, they were going to keep it all under wraps, and you know, we finally get this trailer, and it delivered. It delivered with this, you know, teasing just a bit of the what's to come. We got the Doc Ock tease. Doc Ock featured within this from Spider-Man 2. We got the Green Goblin. His little like blowing up balls, you know, exploding balls in it. It's very much a tease of what's to come, and I'm glad they didn't show too much. But I thought that was a killer trailer. It nailed it. It got me excited for the movie. As a guy who's not a massive Spider-Man fan, I mean, I've got to say, the Spider-Man Tom Holland movies have been, each one so far has been great. I just feel like previous Spider-Man movies have maybe not got me as excited for the character. Maybe it's just the character that I'm not just like all in on. But that movie is exciting. It looks exciting. I loved the Spider-Verse movie. I thought that was a great animated movie, great comic book movie as well. It just every level of comedy, action, comic book storytelling, it delivered. And if they're going to do this live action one, and this is going to be it, I feel like what we're seeing so far looks exciting. It looks entertaining. And it looks like it's going to give us as movie fans, as comic book fans, a lot of big fan pleasing moments, and I'm really excited to see that. So that's coming out in December. At this point, we still don't know whether it's going to be a home release and a movie release. At the moment, it's just a cinema release. But I suppose the way things are changing, we might get a same day release to a streaming service. Who knows? I don't know. Has Sony got their own streaming service? I don't know whether Sony. I'm sure they have. I'm sure pretty much everyone's got their own streaming service at this point. But yeah, I really enjoyed that trailer. Great movie trailer. But anyway, that is it for today's Saturday movie show, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed the show. If you did like it, please do give it a like, and check out the rest of my movie-related content as well. And we're on the road to 500 subs on the channel, on the YouTube channel. So if you think anyone would like the channel, if you are unsubscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to it. Let's get these subs up. Let's get to 500, and maybe we'll do some sort of 500 special video as well at some point. That is something I'm going to have to suss out, maybe doing something like that. But yeah, if you're not subbed to the channel, please do subscribe. Check out the rest of the content. Thank you as always for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. But let me know your thoughts on today's headline topic, ladies and gents. Cinematic universes versus multiverses. I kind of said I think we're all winners in a way, but maybe you have a distinct point of view and a distinct answer to that. Maybe you feel multiverses are better, or you feel cinematic universes are better. Let me know all your views on this topic. Let me know which properties you are most excited for when it comes to multiverse or cinematic universes. Just let me know. Let me know all your thoughts on today's shows and topics. Thank you very much for watching as always. And as always, I will see you next time.